Thank you for joining again and welcome back to our channel. A lot is happening in West Africa. A lot of shift and transition going on at the moment. It's not the kind of transition you would have imagined. But it's important to note that West Africa, for the first time in their colonial history, they are beginning to pick up themselves to figure out what works. Because at this moment, France is completely leaving this region. But experts say that France is not leaving. Like you will hear from the video I'm about to play, that the French foreign minister is saying that France is not leaving, that they are basically living on the physical, but they will be still involved in this particular region. So that's the big question. That's why I want you to go to the comment section and write that the complete withdrawal that we're about to see in Senegal, Ivory Coast, and also in Chad, is it just a symbolic withdrawal, or actually there's going to be some sovereign particular commitment here? That's important because it goes a long way to say France is trying to put this particular withdrawal as if it is a relationship that was based on equal partnership. It was not. France is attempting to choreograph this particular withdrawal to look as if it is a collaborative, just want to save face. I think France is trying to save face from putting this particular withdrawal from this region as if it is an acceptable withdrawal, as if France accepted to leave on its own. France never accepted to leave on its own. It was forced out of Mali, forced out of Burkina Faso, forced out of Guinea, and above all, Niger, that finally cracked the code in terms of reminding France that it's about time that these countries take. We know about the Niger debacle that actually break France's colonial engagement in the region. So it's important that France can continue putting this message out there of a collaborative withdrawal, leaving the region in an understandable way. But I strongly believe, and from what we're hearing from the region and from analysts and strategic advisors, that these countries are very happy for the first time to take absolute control. We saw how Senegal, Chad, and the rest, they are moving really fast to get into new partners. But again, it's a step in the right direction.
One by one, French troops are packing up in West Africa. So far, 6 former colonies have expelled French soldiers from their countries: Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and in quick succession, Chad. Senegal and Ivory Coast are following suit. On January 31st, Chad became the first country this year to see the withdrawal of French troops.
By regaining full control of all French military bases in our country following the breakdown of our military cooperation with France, we are not breaking off our relations with France, but we are putting an end to the military dimension of this cooperation.
Shortly after, Senegal and France announced that they'll set up a joint commission to organize the departure of all 350 French soldiers stationed in the country by the end of the year.
I have instructed the Minister for the Armed Forces to propose a new doctrine for cooperation in defense and security, involving, among other consequences, the end of all foreign military presences in Senegal from 2025.
Folks, the idea that the withdrawal is being characterized as the willingness for France to withdraw from West Africa, I think that's misleading. It should be that France was forced to leave. We knew that France has been forced to leave this region. France would have never joined the coalition of the willing. Let me put it that way. The coalition of the willing to withdraw, like the United States willingly withdraw after its condescending approach. Like I said, global cooperation is not about instructive approach in today's world. So France has gotten the message. So France is about to save its face. But other international partners know that France was humiliated in this region, and it's not going to be like they are withdrawing from a way that will characterize the withdrawal as a defeat, but it has to be choreographed in a manner to look at partnerships, getting to better understanding and separating. This sends a strong signal. France should go back to the drawing board and re-strategize itself and come to the table as equal partners, because at the moment the competition is fierce. Africa is open for business, but with win-win partners, not partners that will continue to manipulate, that will continue to sideline, that will continue to engage from the strategic resources perspective, because the enormous challenges that African face at the moment go far beyond any country in the world.
Ivory Coast President Alassane Ouattara also announced a mutual decision with France to withdraw 600 French troops from the country, but insisted military cooperation would continue.
I praise the leadership of the Ivorian president because Ivory Coast is a responsible country. There were agreements that were signed in 1960 with the late President Felix. We are in 2025, more than 50 years later, and the talks the president has had with France, I think it's really just diplomacy.
Even though France still has around 1,500 troops in Djibouti, French military presence in Africa has been gradually diminishing over the past 5 years. The 2020 military coup in Mali sparked a series of takeovers in Burkina Faso, Niger, Guinea, and Gabon. As the Sahel region continued to grapple with various armed groups, the inability of French troops to contain them sparked large-scale civilian protests. And many of those countries are now employing Russian mercenaries and other international partners to help provide security. Yunus Demirolu, TRT World.
And it's important that irrespective of the partnership which was unfair in terms of every aspect of economic partnership, development, relationship, investment, all of these nations were at the lower end in terms of their particular relationship. So for France to basically portray this particular withdrawal as an attempt to give that face of that we are willingly doing this alongside our partners, I think it's not sitting well in some geopolitical circles. France is actually being forced out of this region, and the French policymakers understand this. So this particular choreographed attempt of basically saving face is a reminder that this region have come of age and they have important things to focus on, and France's African policy is at the lower end in terms of their global perspective. Like I've always said, that Africa is going through a historical time in its history. What happens in the Sahel will shape the continent of Africa, specifically in Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali. But we see other countries like Senegal, Ivory Coast, the darling of all of these countries coming out. I think it's basically, these countries have been struggling for quite some time, but they needed somewhere to start up with. And kudos to Mali, who actually saw things ahead of time. We are seeing a lot of countries practicing a lot of protectionism. The United States of America is talking about the American first, making America great again. It should be Senegal first, Burkina Faso first, Niger great again, Africa first. So it's vital to understand why these countries are stepping forward. Talking of stepping forward, it reminds the continent of Africa that all of this colonial relationship, the engagement, strategic formation, collaboration should be vetted absolutely. Why am I saying this? Because what's happening at the moment in the country of Ukraine is a big lesson for Africa. The United States poured billions into this country. And today, Ukraine is being asked to pay with its natural resources. This particular situation, a lot of African countries have gone through this situation. And I think African nations are getting wiser and wiser on a daily basis. That's why they are asking unpopular questions that some of their geopolitical partners don't find it entertaining. It is important to know that the $100 million US drone base that was dismantled in the city of Agadez in the country of Niger was of vital interest in terms of giving this region their particular sovereignty, irrespective of the challenges that were being faced. But I think as France failed to achieve its objectives in basically rooting out the jihadists in this region, it is an indication that France was not the right partner to face these particular problems in the region. So these countries were not ready to wait forever. At some point, their military was supposed to step in and fill the gap, like the president of Chad said, that it's about time that our own military step in to fill the gap. Because at the end of the day, these countries must take care of their own responsibility. That's why we see events in the alliance of the Sahelian states. They are building their particular military, a 5,000 strongman force, to tackle the challenges in the region head on. So this withdrawal cannot be characterized as the withdrawal of the willing. It's the withdrawal of the disgruntled. That's important to get to understand. So other geopolitical partners understand that France is basically being pushed out of this region, but it's been characterized as if it is a friendly withdrawal. It's not a friendly withdrawal at all. Africa has risen to an extent, and at the moment is asking those vital questions that are relevant for every continent to pick up itself. Hopefully that Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali, Guinea, Senegal, Chad, and Ivory Coast in particular will to an extent breathe some fresh air to step in to take responsibility of their own country. Leave me a comment if this withdrawal is what you expected, and talking about the ceremonies that will be organized, if that is relevant at this particular stage in African history. I will be looking forward to meeting you soon in our next episode. Have a good day. Bye-bye.